Hello.
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
I'm fine, and you? How are you?
Yeah, great. Learning new technology.
Yes, it's true.
Great. Well, I'm really glad we got everything working so we can have a good chat today. So, for people who don't know you, people who are watching live, and people who are going to watch a little bit later, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, hi, my name is Abby Mora. I'm from Mexico, from the East Coast. I live in Veracruz. And well, I'm an English teacher. I am married. I'm 31. I love my job.
How long have you been a language teacher?
Well, a long time now. I started at age 19,
Hmm.
and I started working for a language school here in Mexico. I don't know if you know that. It's Harmonjo.
Okay.
And I started there, and then I tried some other things like captioning and translation of text. And well, now with this whole pandemic thing, I tried to go for online classes.
Great. Very good. Tell me about your experience of online classes. What are maybe some advice for students? Because I think online classes, they're probably good for certain things, maybe not as good as in classroom learning for other things.
Well, I think I've had a very nice experience with this whole online thing because it gives you the opportunity to go one-on-one. Because in a classroom, you have groups of, well, the least number of students you have is like, I don't know, seven,
Okay.
five, but not less. So with this opportunity, you can work one-on-one with your students, and I think it's best because not everybody has the same pace. They don't learn at the same time, and they don't struggle with the same things. So taking classes online has several advantages because they also choose their schedule.
Hmm.
So there is no excuse now like, oh, I don't have time because I work. Well, you can choose your schedule, and it is not difficult either for people that live far from you because it's just there in your living room, in your office, your home office. So you can work wherever you are, and you can do so many things. I guess it's better, for me, I like it better to work online than to be in a classroom.
Do you find something I find is my students online are generally much more motivated
More
because
what?
more motivated because
Oh yeah,
they're
sure.
paying their own money. They've been at work all day and then they take a lesson after work, and that takes some motivation, I think. Have you found that?
Yeah, and you start having, this relationship, which is more like you start building a new friendship, more than like a client and a
Hmm.
provider of a service. You start creating relationships of friendship, and that's really cute.
Great, very good. I also think sometimes, especially when new learners are taking English lessons, taking language lessons, they're really looking for some advice about how to learn a language. I sometimes find the first lesson or even the first two lessons, it's not exactly teaching English, it's teaching how to learn a language, like the dedication you need, what you actually need to do. Tell everybody a bit about your language learning journey. Have you always been interested in languages? Did you learn English from a very young age?
Yeah, actually, but I wasn't interested in learning back then.
Hmm.
Actually, my mother made me learn English,
Oh, she was
but it has
good job, mum.
yeah, it's been a great blessing because, well, that's what I do now.
Hmm.
But I think that the most important factor in learning a language is to be exposed all the time, to be immersed in the language. I
Hmm.
think that my process was very smooth, if you will, because I didn't struggle at all. I went to a school, but I don't remember like memorizing things and studying a lot for an exam. It was more like a natural process because I was all the time listening to music, watching movies, and I also even kept a journal in which I used to write my, everyday life of a teenager. So it
And
was not
today
that
you're going
important,
to
but
read it.
I
No?
wish I had it, but
Find it
I
for
don't
next
have it
time.
anymore. Maybe. But yeah, I think that the most important thing in your journey of learning is to breathe the language, to see it everywhere. If you can change the language of your cell phone, of your computer, you can do it. And if you have the ability to watch a movie and with no subtitles, try to do it. Even if you don't understand it at first, well, you can start with your favorite movie maybe because you already know what happens, so you're not gonna miss the plot. But it is nice to start like educating your brain to understand, because it is not just translating how do you say this from one language to the other, but also how to express the words they use. They might have a different sense or a connotation, so it is important to learn that. I remember that when I was studying, I had a list of verbs, a vocabulary list, and I put it away in a drawer, and then years later, I saw it again, and I was like, check, I already know all this. And I didn't even study because I was all the time listening and talking and, using the language.
How would you rate the English language teaching in the Mexican education system?
I think I would say it is it has a lot of aspects, because you should have some basic grammar, some basic vocabulary, but it is also important to focus what you need what are your needs in the language, to focus on that, because maybe you just need a conversation boost, like to let yourself go and to work on that. And you are not so worried about if you have to use a comma or not in this sentence. So I think it is important, both parts. They're both important, but we really need to focus on students' needs, on your personal goals. So there are some people that just want to focus on vocabulary because they work at a nuclear power plant. So what do they care about, I don't know, my last vacation? They don't really want to focus on that right now. It is important to know the simple past, but it is also important to give them what they need so they can feel like this sense of accomplishment, like, oh, I can communicate right now. So, and later on, you can work on the simple past, but to focus first on what you need.
So that really means that learners really have to be taking their own learning. They have to take charge of their own learning.
Yes and no, because the teacher has a lot of work here, because they must be sensible to their needs, to what they really, what's necessary to help them get where they want. So I think that's a lot of our job, to help them get there. And well, the student must be just available and willing. That's the student's job, which is not a very easy job, but I think that's most important. It's like half, like 50-50.
Well, a teacher can be like a tool, just like watching a film can be a tool, and it's just an extra tool. It's one of the best tools, I would say, but it's a good tool. Tell people a little about your teaching style, and if people want to contact you and take a lesson, because you've got contact details on your profile, what can they expect in a lesson with you?
Well, my teaching style is not something established, something. I thought I was an inductive learning addict, like an inductive learning fan, because I really like to give examples to students so they can infer the grammar behind the examples. But as I told you that with these classes online and you working one-on-one with the students, I found out that sometimes you have to adapt. Well, all the time you have to adapt. So sometimes you just have to give up on something that you don't really like to do. For example, I'm not a fan of speaking in Spanish to explain things, but sometimes students need that. And so you have to do it. So I don't like to speak in Spanish because I want them to struggle with something. If you don't find the words that you don't know, how would you know you don't know them? You know? So if you don't start speaking the language, if you don't start trying to understand it, how would you know the words you're missing? So that's my focus. That's something I like to do. But sometimes students really need to have that reassurance, like, okay, I'm right. I did it well. So what can they expect from my classes? Well, I like to give one lesson for free, like the first lesson, so we get to know each other, and I get to know their level, their goals, their objectives, what they want, their availability, and well, that is free of charge. And then we schedule for the next week or whatever time they are available. And well, that's it. I think my classes are fun. All my students, they have told me that they feel really confident in my classes, that they are really, they really appreciate the classes, the time we spend together. It's really worthwhile. So I think I'm a good teacher.
I'm sure you are. Guys, if you're looking to take some lessons, get in touch with Abby. She'll be able to help you with that. Do you do any exam training as well?
Well, I haven't had a student with those kind of needs. They just want to solve like the problem they have right now, so they want to improve this. But if they want to, we can work on that also.
Yeah, as a teacher, have a look at like the IELTS exam or the TOEFL exam. It's it's quite easy after a little bit of training to teach it, but it's just understanding the exam a little bit. Now, the main thing I wanted to look at today are language resolutions. You know, it's 2021 in a couple of weeks. It's been a difficult year for everybody, and you know, let's have this optimism in January to really get back on track. I know, personally speaking, at the start of 2020, I said, okay, this year I'm really going to work on my Russian, and probably for the first 2 months I did. I actually went to Moscow in January, was really happy with my performance, and I was taking regular lessons, and then during the pandemic in March and April, I was working more than ever. Now, I know I was lucky because not everybody had that opportunity, but I was really, really busy. And it just kind of fell off, and then it was summer, and then I'd take a lesson here and there, but nothing really too regularly. Now I'm getting back into it, so I really, not just for me, but for learners as well, I wanted a little bit of advice. You know, what can people do to really make that goal in 2021 for their language learning, and also to make a goal that sticks? It's that famous line, you know, if you ever go to a gym, it's full in January because everybody wants to go to the gym in January and get fit. And then in February, there's no one there. And it's almost like that with language learning sometimes. So I think myself and a lot of other people, they want to stop that from happening. So would you have any advice to anybody?
Well, I will just repeat what I just said, that you have to be exposed to the language. I mean, it is not much if you study the grammar or not, but why don't you try watching your favorite series on the language you're learning? Why don't you try to change the language you have, your computer or your cell phone, to the language you want to learn? So that would be a nice start, and I would recommend to do some baby steps. You know, like, don't start with big and unachievable objectives, because you will feel like, oh no, I cannot do this and I will quit. So why don't you start with something simple? Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, starting in January 2021, I'm going to start a journal. Start a journal in the language I want to learn. So I'm going to write every day one thing that happened to me or something I'm thankful for, and that's it. I'm going to start with that. And then as you see that you are able to accomplish those little tasks, you feel like, okay, I can do a little bit more. So you start doing bigger and more important things. So I would recommend to start with baby steps, and to, if you really want to learn a language, why don't you start with these apps that exist to start talking to people that live in another country or that speak the language. Like, for example, Tandem is a very nice app. You can download it and you can start talking to people in other countries in other languages. So it would be a nice start.
It's like a language exchange.
Yeah, so it can help you get a little bit more confidence in the language to see how much you really know, how much you really need to learn. And well, I think that would be a nice start to.
And what's that called? Tandem.
Yes, Tandem. I'm gonna write it over here.
Yeah.
Tandem. All right.
Guys, check out Tandem then. Okay, yeah. So you can get some good speaking practice there. I think also, almost along the points of what you've been mentioning, is it's not always about finding new time. It's about changing what you normally do into the language you want to do. So if you listen to a history podcast, listen to it in English instead of in Spanish.
Yes, because finding time to do things is like an impossible task. Sometimes you really are not that organized, and so you cannot find the time, and that would be an excuse of, oh, I don't have the time. But if you forget about the time and just do little changes in your daily routine, well, you can start to get, like this motivation, like, oh, I don't understand this word and I need to do some changes on my phone. So you start finding the motivation you need to continue.
I think also when we talk about time, sometimes not just in language learning, but in other things, for example, I run quite a lot. And some days, maybe I'm not so motivated, and I say, I only have 45 minutes, so I'm not going to go. Because in a perfect world, I would go for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But 45 minutes is great. It's better than nothing. So it's the same with language learning as well. Well, I only have 20 minutes. Okay, do 20 minutes. Probably it's a perfect amount of time because you're fully concentrated. After 20 minutes, you lose concentration sometimes. So maybe it's the best time. So don't try and find that perfect moment, because people have lives, people have partners and kids and stress and mothers calling them and all this. So sometimes it just doesn't work like that. So yeah, don't wait for that perfect moment. But
also, I learned that the perfect moment to learn something is right before you go to sleep, because that's when your brain absorbs the most information. So if you're looking for the perfect moment, just right before you go to sleep.
Oh, maybe you can try those like sleep audio, learn English in your sleep. I've never tried them. I'm sure they don't work, but maybe.
Me neither.
Do you have any language learning resolutions for 2021?
Well, yeah, I've been trying to learn French. I already know I'm B1 level of French, but I would like to improve.
Oh, did we lose it? Oh, you're back.
Oh, hi.
Sorry,
yes,
can you just repeat that last 10 seconds?
Yeah, I told you that I'm learning French. I'm currently learning French, and I would like to improve myself. I would like to be as confident and as fluent as I am in English. And believe me, I have tried to. I'm not giving you these pieces of advice because I just invented it, but because I want to do them myself. I want to change the language of my cell phone to French, and I want to start, maybe a journal in French, because I really need to be in touch with the language, because I take the class, but if you just take an hour of a class and then you go and live your life, it is not going to work. It is not going to change anything to know how to solve the problems in the class, but in your day-to-day, in your daily life, you just don't use the language, you're not going to get anywhere. So what I just said is what I really want to do with my objectives with the language I want to learn, which is French.
And when you're looking at that objective, have you made some kind of plan? I know some people do, like, okay, Monday I'm going to read something, Tuesday it's a podcast day, Wednesday I'm going to use Tandem and speak with a language partner, or is it just more general than that?
Yeah, like a freestyle, because if you are so, with a lot of regulations and schedules, and yes, it's not gonna happen, and you're gonna feel frustrated. So
okay.
I just tried to see this sitcom Family Business on Netflix is a French sitcom, so it's nice. I try to listen to it, but not just I watch it and I have fun, but to try to pay really attention to what they say, how they say it. If I'm going to spend an hour to watching that series, well, I'm going to make it worthwhile. I'm going to learn something, at least one expression, and that's it. And I'm also going to try online classes because, with this pandemic, all schools are closed, and I don't feel like I can be in a group of people learning French because we don't have the same level and we don't have the same needs. So I would really like to try. I actually have a teacher, and we are talking about taking classes starting on January. So I hope I can get there this time.
Let's give you January, and then in February, let's do a live. On va parler français ensemble. On va voir ton niveau. Ça serait très utile pour toi.
J'aimerais ça.
Ah, super. All right. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit because this is something I've been studying. Something I'm quite interested in is languages worldwide, because it seems like we're being dominated by English and Spanish and French and Chinese, and there's a lot of languages under threat in the world. And actually, Mexico, I don't know if a lot of people know this. I didn't really know this, but a huge amount of native languages, 68, I read in an article.
Well, actually, I'm going to come clean here. I didn't know either. Just, yes, up until the moment you mentioned it, I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about it. But yes, well, the National Institute for Indigenous Languages here in Mexico has a classification. They divide it in 3 levels. The first level is the family, and we have 11 families. And then we have the groups. And then you have the variations, which are 364. So you talk about 68, but they're really 364.
Wow.
So this diversity makes it hard for the government to empower these indigenous languages. So it is hard even for them. They can coincide in time and space, but they struggle in education because they don't share the same variation of the language. So yes, it is so something to be proud about, but it is also hard work, because if you want to make this something like to transcend, if you want this to transcend, well, it's going to be a hard work because it is a lot of variety.
Well, sometimes it can be a difficult situation with some of these languages, because a lot of these smaller languages, they're part of indigenous communities, maybe even tribal communities, and especially nowadays, I think I was reading a stat in Mexico that a lot of these indigenous people, only something like 20% of them actually speak those languages. So because they don't see the value in it, because obviously learning Spanish has more economic benefit or more economic possibilities for you. But
also, then it is also the places where they speak those languages. I mean, in the whole country that we are 120 million people, there are only 7 million. So it's not even 10% of the people who speak those languages. And they're all gathered. I mean, most of them are in one state only. Right, most of the yes, most of the region that is next to the United States, they don't have even 2% of people that speak these kind of languages. So it is hard. It is hard for us as a country together to make this bigger, to empower this, because we, as I told you, I hadn't thought about it up until you mentioned it. So maybe most of the people that I know hadn't either. So we really don't, we're not interested in learning, maybe Nahuatl, which is the most famous or the most spoken language. We're not interested in learning that. And it is not like it is.
We have loads. I even wrote them down. We have Otomi, Chantino, Tokonach.
Yes, the most. You have, in first place, you have Nahuatl, and then we have Maya, and then we have Mixteco and Totonaco. Those are the most common. But as I told you, if you have 364 variations, how would you make that? So, and even the government, just this decade, it started with some changes in law, and they just recognized these indigenous languages as national languages. Okay. So they didn't have a voice before. They didn't have the right to read the Constitution because they couldn't, because they didn't understand it. So they have just started looking at these people, and they have just started to do something about it. And well, it is sad, but it is also our responsibility if we are not doing anything. But we are doing. Actually, I found that there is an app, and it's called I don't remember, but I'm going to write it on the chat. There are plenty of apps, and they teach you Nahuatl in those apps. So it is a way to make them known in the world. It is a way to don't let them die, at least.
Okay, yeah, someone had a question in the chat. How can I speak fluent English? Contact Abby. Take a lesson with her, and she'll help you out. For example, in the UK, we have a couple of indigenous languages. Well, in Wales, we have Welsh. In Scotland, they have a Scottish Gaelic. They have TV channels. There's one TV channel exclusively in Welsh, BBC Welsh. There's one in Scottish Gaelic as well. There's newspapers. Kids in Wales learn Welsh. I mean, they learn English mainly, but they also learn Welsh as their language at school. Is anything like that happening even in just certain regions with Nahuatl, for example?
Yeah, we have also, I think I read about a radio station, which is, I guess it's Nahuatl, the language they are broadcasting, but I don't really have, I haven't really looked at it, because if I don't understand it, I don't really know the language. Well, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I think there are also, well, as I told you, these works on making, to empower these indigenous languages, but sometimes resources, sometimes the willingness of people, it is not the best moment to do it right now. So I just know that there are actions, there are activities that they're doing, but I'm not really involved in that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. What are your plans for Christmas? Tell us a little bit about Mexican Christmas.
Well, we really like to gather with family and friends, but this time I think it's going to be a very intimate reunion with just your family members, maybe your mom and dad, and that's it. And yeah, some people, we feel that sadness because we have big families. So they come from all over the country, and they gather to see all the brothers, all the sisters, all the aunts, and whatever. But this time it's going to be a very close reunion, and well, I think it's a good thing to spend time with your beloved ones. At least if you haven't lost anybody, well, you have something to be thankful and grateful. And well, I don't think there's anything special. We in Mexico, I think all the traditions and all the things that we know from other countries like United States, I think it's not that different. We celebrate New Year just as they do, and well, it's something, you know, to spend time with family and have a great time.
Great. Very good. All right. Thanks so much, Abby, for coming on and talking about language resolutions and things like this. I want to check back with you in February to see how your language resolution is going. J'imagine en février, tu vas parler français parfaitement et on va parler français un petit peu en février. Okay?
Oui, merci.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good Christmas. Have a good New Year. I will see
Thank
you
you
in 2021, okay?
You too.
Thanks a lot.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.